Okay, so let's dive in. We're looking at something really key for building software that, you can actually rely on, especially for client-side JavaScript apps. People talk about testing like building something solid, right? Checks at different levels.
Exactly. And the testing pyramid is probably the most common way to visualize that. It really helps.
Helps how exactly? To know where to put your effort?
Yeah, precisely. It shows where you get the most bang for your buck in finding bugs efficiently. And honestly, getting this helps you level up as a developer, build that confidence.
Right. Makes sense. So we're going to break down this pyramid layer by layer.
That's the plan, from the bottom up.
Okay, so that big base layer, what's down there?
That's your foundation. Unit tests.
Unit tests. And what exactly is a unit here?
Think small. Really small, like an individual function maybe, or a tiny helper class, something that does one very specific thing.
So just testing that one little piece works on its own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Completely isolated. If you have a function, say, that formats a date, the unit test just checks if you give it a specific date, does it spit out the right string format?
And you don't care where the date came from or what uses the string after?
Not at this level, no. You actively try to ignore everything else. Often you'll use things called mocks or stubs.
Ah, right. To fake the other parts, like if it needed to call an API.
Precisely. You replace the real API call with a fake one that just returns a predictable answer instantly. Keeps the test purely focused on the code you're testing.
Okay, and the benefit there is?
Speed. They are incredibly fast to run, hundreds, even thousands in seconds. Plus, they're easier to write once you get the hang of it.
And less likely to break randomly if I change something somewhere else.
Much less likely. They're not brittle.
Blech.
So yeah, high return on investment for catching bugs early. You want lots of these. It's your safety net.
Okay, solid foundation with lots of fast unit tests.
Yeah.
Got it. But code doesn't live in isolation, right? Things have to work together.
Exactly. So moving up from that base.
We get to the middle.
Yeah, the middle layer, often called integration tests. Or especially in front-end work now, you hear component tests a lot.
Integration, component, what's the difference, or are they similar?
They're related. The core idea is moving beyond isolation. You're now checking if multiple units, multiple pieces interact correctly.
Okay, so testing the connections. Like, does function A actually call function B with the right info?
Exactly that. Or for component tests, maybe you're looking at a UI component, like a search bar. Does it render correctly? You type in it, does it call the right function perhaps?
So more realistic than a unit test.
A bit more, yes. You're testing how things plug together. For component tests, you might use tools that kind of simulate a browser environment, the DOM, but maybe not a full actual browser.
Still mocking some things, maybe, like external APIs.
Often, yes. You might still mock the final backend call, but you test the interaction between your UI component and the service layer that prepares that call.
Right, so these are going to be a bit slower than unit tests.
Definitely slower, and a little more brittle because more code is involved. If you change one component, it might affect tests for components that use it.
But they catch bugs that unit tests would miss, problems in the interaction.
Absolutely. Things like data not flowing correctly between parts or components not rendering properly when combined. You need this level.
Okay, base is units, middle is integration or components working together. What's at the very top? The pointy bit.
That's the peak. End-to-end tests, E2E for short.
End-to-end sounds like the whole thing.
Pretty much. These tests simulate a real user interacting with your entire application, running in a real browser, talking to a real backend, maybe even a real database.
Wow. Okay, so literally automating clicks and typing. Like log in, go here, add item to cart, check out.
Exactly that kind of flow.
Yeah.
You use tools like Cypress or Playwright that actually drive a browser, navigate through pages, interact with elements, and verify the outcomes.
That must be amazing for confidence, right? Knowing the actual user journey works.
It gives you the highest level of confidence about the overall user experience, yes. It catches bugs that only appear when everything is wired together.
But I sense a but coming.
Oh, there's a big one. Trade-offs. E2E tests are by far the slowest to run. Think seconds or even minutes per test compared to milliseconds for unit tests.
Ouch. And brittle too, I bet.
Extremely brittle. A small change in the UI, like renaming a button IB, can break an E2E test even if the functionality is fine. They require significant effort to write and, crucially, to maintain.
So you don't want too many of these.
Definitely not. That's why it's the narrow top of the pyramid. You reserve them for your most critical user paths. Relying only on E2E tests is a recipe for slow, painful development.
Okay, so this whole pyramid thing is about balance then.
It really is. We've got the fast, focused unit tests at the bottom, giving you detailed feedback on the small parts.
Then the integration or component tests, checking the connections in the middle. Still reasonably fast.
Right. And finally, the slow but comprehensive E2E tests at the top, verifying the whole flow.
It's fascinating, isn't it? No single best test. Each has its place, its cost, its benefit.
And becoming a really effective developer means understanding those trade-offs. Knowing when to write which kind of test. You want that broad base of unit tests, a good layer of integration, and just a few critical E2E tests.
It's about strategy, not just writing tests for the sake of it. Balancing how much coverage you get versus how fast you can get feedback and how stable your tests are.
You nailed it. That's the core idea.
So thinking about all this, it kind of makes you reflect on your own projects, doesn't it?
Yeah.
For you listening, where does most of your testing effort currently fall on this pyramid? And maybe, just maybe, based on this, is there a reason to adjust that strategy for what you build next?